Is it time for the employee benefits space to be disrupted? Find out more in this episode of Communicate for Impact Live.
Welcome to Communicate for Impact Live, sharing stories, making connections. We're Douglas and Lisa Marie Hatcher, co-founders of Communicate for Impact, a business storytelling and training and coaching firm just north of New York City. And our job is to help you create better content faster. Today, we're delighted to welcome Mark Leeds. Mark is the co-founder and CEO of Rally Partners, a human capital management advisory firm located in Stamford, Connecticut. Mark, thank you for joining us today.
Great. Well, Lisa Marie and Doug, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to talking to everybody.
Awesome. Mark, it is great to have you on the broadcast. For those of you watching, full transparency, Mark and I went to Bowdoin College together many, many years ago, and we recently reconnected, which has been super awesome. I think we may have one Bowdoin alum who is attending this, so a big shout out to you if you're able to make the broadcast. So that's awesome.
Great.
Mark, as we kick things off, tell us what it means to be a human capital management advisory firm.
Sure. Thanks, Doug. And again, thanks for everybody joining in. So it probably is a good time to tell a quick story about how we founded Rally Partners and what a human capital management firm is about. So my now partner and I were at a meeting in Buffalo, New York. And it was a company of about 85 to 100 people. And we're sitting there listening. And typically we listen a lot about employee benefits. And that means, a lot about your health insurance and your insurance products and how you approach those with employees. But what this client was talking about was how difficult it was to integrate their technology platforms so that they could speak to each other. So they had payroll, they had benefits, they had all these single points of entry, and they didn't talk to each other. And that made their management of HR and human capital management very difficult. So as my partner and I sat there in this meeting, we said, isn't that interesting? I've spent 30 plus years in employee benefits. My partner has seen a lot of different companies on a financial basis. And we just sat there, got to the airport in Buffalo, and said, let's start this company because there's a need, there's no doubt in our mind, for someone to help small to medium-sized businesses, to figure out how to be more efficient in the HR area. And HR relates to human capital and how you manage your employees, therefore allowing the HR department to be more efficient. So on the back of a napkin, basically, we sat there and sketched out Rally, figured out, this would be a great concept, a great idea. And that was about 3 years ago. And again, as I said, I've spent 30 plus years in the industry, but saw this niche and saw this need. And that's when Rally Partners got off the ground. So
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So Mark, I know that you've said before, you've mentioned that you think that the employee benefits model is broken.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? And how is Rally Partners working to disrupt that model and make things better?
Thanks. That's a great question, Lisa Marie. And so the employee benefits model, what I've noticed is many companies have what we would call an insurance broker consultant that will come in and do an overview of their benefits programs. And when I say an overview, it's mostly of their insurance programs. And in this market, it tends to be very transactional, where going to the market, getting quotes, putting together rate sheets. And it's a very, kind of one-dimensional approach. And what we saw was that employee benefits brokers who were able to solve many, many more needs in the HR space brought more value and could use the monies that were paid to be the insurance consultant to provide many, many more services. So we decided that that was the model where we saw many brokers, maybe meeting with their clients once, twice a year, maybe once a quarter, collecting commissions and not really providing services around HR, that we could disrupt that model. And that by focusing on technology, that payroll, as I mentioned in that Buffalo instance, but HR compliance and legal, and putting them all under one roof so that the HR department could find one particular person or a company to help them in all areas of HR, we felt was a really strong model. So that was how we at Rally kind of said, we're going to differentiate ourselves and be different than a typical insurance consultant who, makes a lot, in my mind, and again, I've been one, was making a lot of money. And when you looked at the value to what they were bringing, we saw a need. So that's where Rally kind of came in and said, we're going to disrupt this market and provide more services, but not ask for more money. So that was really what we saw as a great opportunity to develop Rally into a different kind of company.
Excellent. Given the fact that your company touches nearly, as you just said, every aspect of HR, I'm wondering if you could share some of the ways that Rally Partners is impacting employee culture. And I'm thinking specifically along the lines of retention during this time of so-called Great Resignation.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's something we've focused on quite a bit at Rally, and how can we, especially COVID certainly opened up for many people, a lot of folks' eyes as to the opportunity for remote work. I think that remote work was always there, but I don't think was really accepted all that much in our, traditional workplace of you need to be there, and FaceTime is so important. So what we saw was the use of technology in this area became really paramount to how do we as an organization interact with our employees when they're not in our office space. Sure. So many HCM or human capital management technologies out there have the ability to interact with employees. The use of mobile right now is so prevalent, and many of the HCM technologies out there have the capabilities to push out messaging, to push out certain, I want to look at documents. I want to be able to see what my PTO, paid time off might be. I want to see what my vacation, but I want to know what's going on. So we were working with our companies to really use that technology to interact with their employees. So we have one company who was an industrial cleaning company, or is an industrial cleaning company. How do you get to all these people who all over the place? And they use their capabilities within their platform to say, here's what's going on today, and here is where we are as a company. And so it became really paramount for companies to look at technology. And that's where we've focused on helping our clients really use their technology to the fullest. What we often found was people have and have technology, and companies have technology out there, but they don't often use it to its fullest. So we've become very adept at helping our clients use their technology, especially in the area of employee communications, to be out in front of their folks.
Talk a little more about the impact. What are there examples where this has really been, if not a game changer, at least something that's really made a difference?
Yeah, there's no doubt that in talking to our clients, that the ability to interact with their employees was an important component, especially given the remote access. Many of our firms that we're working with even now are still remote, and will continue. What we found, and this is where I think the biggest impact is we can actually do this and it works. We don't need to have company-wide meetings anymore where you've got to get everybody in the same room, and you've got to get, everybody focused on, one time at 10 o'clock, we're going to have a meeting on, benefits or whatever that may be. So using technology to actually blast out information on a more regular basis, I've seen really been attractive to HR departments, because now you don't have to get people together. It's so easy to send out notes, and people in general know how to use mobile phones, and use it for many things. And it was often interesting to me to hear, well, my people won't use this. They won't interact. And I said, but they order things, YouTube, so many.
They're on their phones all the time.
So I guarantee you they will do that. And so I'm pleased to say most of our companies, the feedback has been, yes, our employees are interacting with us, and we are getting feedback that's good feedback, that thank you for communicating what's going on within the company. We don't always have to be there for that to happen. So I see a really, COVID and what's happening in our world, obviously is troublesome, but what we found, some good things coming out of it. And one of those is, I think, the ability to work remotely, but yet still be in constant communication with your team.
Very cool. At the beginning of the broadcast, Mark, you talked a little bit about the founding of Rally Partners, the origin story, which is awesome. Talk about literally the words Rally Partners. I have an idea of where this comes from, but for our viewers, tell us about that.
Sure. So what's really exciting in a couple ways about Rally Partners is my partner and I go back to high school days, growing up in Boston together and playing tennis together. And he was a great tennis player. I wasn't as good, but did my best. We were doubles partners, and tennis really for me has been a constant in my life, and still is something I do frequently. So when we started thinking about what's the name for this company, the idea of tennis and rallying, the ability to rally came up. So Rally is from that. However, we also thought about the idea of bringing people together and rallying the troops. And so it kind of had a twofold meaning in the tennis, but along with, we can rally the troops to be under HR being so important. How do we bring that, rallying everybody under one roof together? So kind of twofold, but certainly the tennis component was a big part of Rally. And I'm happy that it has the other meaning as well, which is bringing people together.
That's great. I think it's a great name. And I think literally when you think about a rally in tennis, there's a continuity factor.
Constant back and forth.
That's what's going on. And the back and forth, which is part of what you guys are providing, really good, clear lines of communication around all parties, so that people can be more productive, more efficient, and have better businesses.
Yes, that is really and I think HR doesn't get as much credit as they should. And really, without a strong HR area and strong HR people, companies can't thrive, because HR touches everything, and I think is often underappreciated. So we try to bring that appreciation to the HR area, where, HR folks can really be seen and help drive company results, even though I think oftentimes, as not a revenue producing area, HR can be looked at differently. But without HR, as I said, the companies can't survive.
Yeah, and I'm thinking out loud here. It's been 10 years since I worked for a corporation, and I worked for a large fintech. I worked for pharmaceutical companies. HR was just always kind of that down the hall. You never really saw them. If you needed to find out something, it always seemed like it was such a struggle to try to dig through layers of a website or a page or something to find out your information. So even before COVID and before everyone started working remote, there's always been a need for that back and forth communication to be simplified. Right. So it's not a scary thing to try to reach out to, or it's not a complicated thing to reach out to. So regardless of whether the majority of employees stay remote or they go back, just having that simplification of the process so that it's a comfortable back and forth partnership, so that it's an easy back and forth partnership. That's really, really imperative, I think, because as you said, it touches about everything that has to do with your job. So whether it's your benefits, your payroll, your vacation, whatever, it's really, really important for that to be a comfortable and simple process.
Yeah, no, Lisa Marie, that's great. And you're mentioning of large companies that you've worked with. As we work a lot with small to mid-size companies, what you find is there's, unlike a large company that may have a number of people in HR, someone doing payroll specifically, someone doing benefits or compliance. In small to mid-sized companies, you may have one person handling all aspects of HR, and it's overwhelming. Or you may have someone who's not an HR person dealing with HR just because you have to. So the ability to bring, as you said, continuity and the ability to bring some simplification to HR to help drive results is really something we focus on. And trying to have one platform, which is always hard, but there's ways to do it, and to have that, really structured way of communication and way we communicate to our employees and the way we communicate to senior management is really important. And especially with small to mid-sized businesses who don't have the resources we often see with larger companies.
Excellent.
That's a great point. Really good.
So, Mark, we always close out with two questions for our guest.
Okay.
So the first question is, what's something that you have learned in the last 6 months that might be useful to our viewers?
That's a great question. Let me think about that one. I think especially with what has been going on with COVID and where we are as a country and where we are as a kind of world we live in today, communication is crucial. And trying to figure out the best way to communicate to your team, to your employees. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again, especially in the last year to 6 months to a year, helping companies communicate with their employees on a more frequent and regular basis is really what we've learned. And how to do that, and using, as I said, technology to push out information has really been something that we feel makes a difference to people. And I think it will continue. I think we will continue to see technology improve in the human capital space. It's still a little bit fragmented in that there's many point systems that don't often talk to each other, and we have to find ways to make these systems integrate so that HR folks will have an easier time. So I'd say that's probably in the last 6 months what I've seen and where I don't know, what I've learned, how important that communication part is.
Excellent. Before we get to the last closeout question, I just want to hear a little bit from you, Mark, about the competitive landscape for the space that you're in. What does that look like?
Yeah, that's interesting, Doug, because there's many different competitors, if you will, in this space. There's other benefit consultants that are out there, from big to small. There's payroll companies that are out there talking about their solutions. There's HR consultants out there talking about how they can help. There's accountants out there talking about how to best set up your system. So I think that what we've tried to do and what we will continue to do at Rally is be that point of contact that can provide services in all those areas, so that HR folks aren't overwhelmed by who do I go to for a certain situation. I have a compliance issue in our HR. I need some kind of training. I need leadership development. I need benefits consulting. I need technology. Instead of all these different folks coming around, we've tried to be one solution where even if we can't solve it, we will help find the right person to solve it or the right team to solve it. So a lot of competition out there, but very few, I think, that focus on as many things as we do, which is somewhat good and somewhat bad, and may lead into some other questions that you might have. But it's certainly a challenge sometimes to, customize solutions, I think, because we try to be, not every company is the same. No two companies really are.
Sure.
And it's hard to just come up with an off-the-shelf solution. And that's often, challenging.
But you guys are bringing a, I'm not sure what the word is, wholesale, but a fuller spectrum of solutions so that people don't have to shop around. They can kind of get what they need in one spot.
Right. That's our goal is HR, we say we solve problems in HR, and that can be a very broad topic, right? HR, what does that mean? But HR touches, as we've talked about, so many different aspects. And if we can be that point that an HR person or a CFO or somebody needs to say, can you find me the right solutions in HR and guide me to get to the right solutions? That's what we really want to focus on. And that's what we do focus on.
Sounds good. Our second closeout question is this. Is there a challenge you're facing where one of our viewers might be of help?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I talked about it, is trying to come up with a really simple elevator pitch or who is Rally Partners. And I will tell you that I've gone from, and if the viewers have ideas, so from anywhere from we address pain points in HR, we deliver customized HR solutions for small to mid-sized businesses. We help SMBs prioritize their employees by providing HR support. So the idea of how do we capture in a very, when someone asks you, hey, Mark, what Rally Partners, what do you do? Well, we
Right.
solve problems in HR. I think people are left with, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
And so if any of the viewers have any good ideas, that would be great, because we're really trying to tell a story in a very succinct way when someone asks. So if
only you knew someone who coached storytelling.
I know. Is there anyone that does that?
Is there anyone in the room?
Anyone who does that would be
Douglas,
great.
Douglas, why don't you run through the 4 questions that we encourage people to answer when they're coming up with their elevator pitch?
Yes, of course. Okay.
Yeah.
So 4 questions are: number 1, who are you serving? Number 2, what problem are they facing? Number 3, how are you helping? Number 4, what difference are you making? If you can answer those 4 questions, then we can put things together into what we call a 1-sentence story solution.
That's what we're trying to do. So that's great if you guys can help. But I'd be curious if the viewers can help too.
Yes, of course.
Just hearing what we've said, and but no, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yep, you got it.
Thank you.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. And for those of you who are watching, you can reach out to Mark on LinkedIn, Mark Leeds, Leeds on LinkedIn, or you can visit his website at rallypartners.com. And we'll have a recording of this interview on our website at communicate4impact.com. Thank you so much, Mark, and everyone stay safe until we see you again.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.